a big swim team and you like to order a lot of gear, maybe you ought to check out Swim Outlet Team Division for these reasons. Swim teams receive a 10% discount on bulk orders. Swim teams or organizations get an 8% commission on referred sales. You'll also like their customization services, which is affordable and available at all times during the year for all team gear. With over 50,000 items in stock, you can get most anything you want. Swim Outlet Team Division. You need to try it out. You'll be glad you did.
This is the Morning Swim Show for Thursday, October 30th, 2014. I'm your host, Jeff Cummings. The November issue of Swimming World magazine puts a heavy focus on open water swimming, and there's no better person to have on today's show to talk about open water than Steve Munatones. He's a major figure in open water swimming and the founder of the website Open Water Source. And let's bring in Steve now in the Finis Monitor from Huntington Beach, California. Hi Steve, it's always good to see you. How are you today?
Good, and you?
Doing all right, thanks. So you wrote a few articles for us in the November issue. Appreciate that. One thing that you wrote about was this Ocean 7 thing. Talk about that. What's behind that?
Well, the Ocean 7 are actually 7 major channels around the world. They're geographically scattered, and they are modeled after the 7 summits. The 7 summits are the 7 highest peaks, mountain peaks on the 7 continents around the world. But the Ocean 7 starts off with the English Channel, obviously between England and France. It includes the North Channel, which is between Scotland and Ireland, a very cold swim. It also includes the Cook Strait between the North and South Islands in New Zealand. It includes the 26-mile Molokai Channel between Oahu and Molokai. It includes the Tsugaru Channel, which is between the main island of Japan and Hokkaido. It includes the Catalina Channel between Catalina Island and the Southern California coast. And it includes the Strait of Gibraltar between Spain and Morocco.
Okay, so you pretty much got all the continents covered there. When you came up with this in 2009, did you instantly think it was going to be 7? Were there some you said maybe we should include these swims and not others?
Yeah, it was a tough call. There's some great swims, for example, on the west coast of Australia, the Rottnest Channel, and there are a variety of other locations around the world. In South Africa, in the Caribbean, etc. But these 7 are fairly iconic. They challenge the swimmers because they're a combination of warm water and cold water swims between Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. So I think they're a very good representation of the highest levels of channel swimming around the world.
It sounds like it's the 400 IM of open water swimming. You gotta be talented in just about everything. You gotta be able to swim well in warm water. You gotta be able to swim well in cold water, shorter distances and longer distances too.
That's correct, including the logistics of all of this. I mean, over in Japan, your boat captain is a Japanese who doesn't speak English. Your boat captain in the Strait of Gibraltar is a man whose first language is Spanish. You have to deal with Kiwis in Cook Strait, and you have to deal with the Scottish and Irish in the North Channel. So it's and it's costly. People have to travel to these places, and in any given channel swim, there's no guarantee that anybody's going to finish.
So is it the logistics that you think is the reason why only 6 people have completed this in 5 years?
It's logistics. It's a cost. It's actually just the mere physical trauma of doing 7 major channels around the world that really task you to reach your potential. But the 6 people who've actually done it are not what we would call world-class speed swimmers. They're just people with a lot of gumption, a lot of dedication, a lot of passion about the sport.
And a lot of money.
Or sponsors.
And sponsors, yeah. Of the 7 swims in the Ocean 7, which would you say is the hardest, and which one is, I guess, it's hard to say the easiest, but which one is the least difficult to do?
I think in terms of expectations, the Tsugaru Channel in Japan is probably the hardest, simply because it's got unpredictable eddies, massive swirling currents in the channel. However, if you're not accustomed to cold water, then the North Channel between Scotland and Ireland really challenges you. Obviously, there is a bunch of marine life in Hawaii. So, arguably it's one of the three, either the North Channel, the Tsugaru Channel, or the Molokai Channel in Hawaii, on terms of the harder spectrum. In terms of the easiest, I think it's everybody agrees that the Strait of Gibraltar, roughly a 9 to 11-mile swim, depending on how you are swept on the currents, would be on the easy side.
And like the English Channel rules, I would imagine in the North Channel swim, you can't wear a wetsuit at all, right?
Correct. None of these allow you to wear a wetsuit, get on the boat. Any of the standard rules of the English Channel apply.
Well, I was looking at the list on Open Waterpedia, and of the people who look like they're close to getting the accomplishment of the Ocean 7, it's a lot of people. So do you think we're gonna have more people accomplish this in this year? I know the open water season's kind of wrapping up, but do you think we're gonna have anybody else do this in 2014?
2014, no, but there are a lot of people knocking at the door. And more importantly, I think there are a lot of young athletes in their teens and their 20s, who are now looking forward to achieving this accomplishment. So I think over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have lots of people joining this exclusive club.
When you conceded this in 2009, did you think you'd have 20 people doing it in 5 years, or did you think it was going to be one of those that would be a very small group of people that'd be able to do it in this first 5 years?
Yeah, I knew it would take some time. I mean, it's 7 channels, so even if you do one a year, that's 7 years. But once in the open water world, because we don't have distinct distances like the 400 am or the 200 fly, once we put a goal out there, the community really rises the occasion and gets motivated and tries to achieve these different epitomes of channel swimming.
Yeah, it looks like it's fun to be able to have that goal, but at the same time, I guess you look at something like the English Channel does take a long time to plan, and Catalina Channel takes a long time to plan. So you're right, it probably will take people 7, 8, 10 years to be able to at least get their bodies ready for that kind of thing.
Correct.
Well, I want to talk about elite open water swimming for a bit. 2015 is going to be a very big year for that. The World Championships will be the first selection meet for picking the roster for the 10K at the 2016 Olympics. So that 10K race in Russia is going to be very, very important. I know it's early, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Who do you think are going to win the men's and women's races? Who looks good so far?
That's like predicting the score of the Super Bowl 3 years out. I mean, that's a really tough task. But if I could make a prediction of on the men's race, we have the old guard, the Thomas Lures will be there. Andrew Gomel undoubtedly will be there, and depending on what he's up to, Osmaluli. So again, my pick would be one of those three on the men's side. And on the women's side, I have to go with one of the two Brazilians, Ana Marcela Cunha or Poto. I think the Americans will be right in the mix. And on the women's side, we're going to have 10 women, maybe 15 women. So it's going to be one of the most exciting races ever.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, it's going to be exciting just because I think it's just exciting just because you've got to get top 10. Otherwise, you've got to get yourself ready for another race just to make sure you can get that one of those other 15 or so spots that are left.
Correct.
Well, it's always probably fun for you to kind of see how that all progresses in this next year, because as is usually the case at open water, there's always somebody who is not kind of in the spotlight right now, but will be next year. Someone we never would have thought would have been challenging for something like that.
Exactly. I mean, there is going to be, I made, off the cuff prediction, but I guarantee you there'll be someone in that on top of that podium who we didn't predict would be there. So it's always fun.
It is fun. It is fun. Well, that's great to hear about all these things that are going on in open water, Steve. Before we let you go, we want to submit you to our final 5. These are 5 questions we ask our guests on the morning swim show, and I'm sure some of your answers will have an open water bent to it, which is great. If you could trade lives with a swimming celebrity for a day, who would it be?
I think it would be. I'm not female, but I think Rebecca Soni lives a fascinating life.
Yeah, she does. She definitely does. Who's a non-swimming celebrity you would like to trade lives with for a day?
Again, I'd love to sit in the Oval Office and see what President Obama goes through.
We've had somebody mention that before, so you're not alone on that.
Yeah.
If you could, besides this current year, what's a year of your life that you would like to relive?
I'd love to relive my senior year in college.
I think a lot of people are saying that. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, favorite movie? That's a tough one. The one that just comes to mind immediately because I'm a little bit hungry is Chef.
Okay, that's a new one. And last question, what's your favorite season?
Season is definitely summer. I mean, that's when open water swimming is at its peak, so summer's it for me.
Yeah, I can understand that. Well, great, Steve. Thank you so much for talking about open water. Always appreciate your insights, and thanks again for your contributions to Swimming World Magazine.
My pleasure.
All right.
Take
And as
care.
I mentioned at the top of the show, the November issue of Swimming World Magazine has lots of articles relating to open water swimming, including features by today's guest, Steve Munatones. It's one of our best issues of the year. I'm Jeff Cummings. Thanks for watching.